in Singapore, because we are a small island where land is scarce, I think we have to look at environmental issues from a very pragmatic, with a sense of pragmatism involved. I do share the sentiments of many in the society about issues of conservation, issues of preservation, and so on. But in a small island where there is a need for development at the same time, so one has to balance the issues and rationalize them together in order to make an educated decision that is best for the country. I think in the first place, I want to qualify that I'm very pro-conservation. I'm very pro-preservation, especially heritage, especially vegetations and so on. But from the vegetation angle, I believe that as you take a more pragmatic view, meeting the needs of development to sustain the economic development and other developments of the country, and versus conservation, I would say that the rationalization must take into consideration what science can contribute. Okay? Yes, it is ideal that, let's say, a good vegetation patch, okay, could be conserved in order to give it a character, to identify the heritage that we have. I think that's important. Yeah, and I am very glad that many in our population do have ideals of such nature that they want to conserve heritage. But at the same time, if there is really a need to compromise, to some extent on this approach, but if this compromise can be mitigated by science, I would say that we need to consider such an approach with a very strong emphasis. Let me share with you a personal experience of how this approach could bring about the best of both sides. Okay? When Pulau Semakau was developed as a landfill option to cater to the enormous amount of rubbish that Singapore is generating, and after incineration, there's a need of a place to put the ash. So they developed Pulau Semakau by linking two islands together and create a space for the purpose of dumping this ash. Now, in the process of building the bund to create an enclosed space, they need to remove a certain area of natural mangrove in order to anchor the bund from an engineering point of view. Now, of course, there's a natural plot of mangrove down there, and it is, in my own view, worthwhile conserving. But if you continue to insist on a conservation, you cannot meet engineering requirements, and there will be no bund, and there will be no storage place for our ash. So therefore, we were asked this question: if we were to remove this plot of mangrove, can a replacement plot be regenerated? My answer is an immediate yes, because I have done a lot of research and experience in mangrove regeneration, particularly in the Pasir Ris area when I was involved in the development of the Pasir Ris Park, where there were mangrove down there, and they created a river, the Sungai Api-Api, with earth embankment, and we were able to establish mangrove on the earth embankment. And we know what are the requirements that will enable mangrove plants to grow if we were to regenerate them. So therefore, we put forth a set of specifications to the engineers so that they will be able to reclaim a plot of land equivalent to the area or bigger than the area that has been taken out. And we were able to regenerate that plot of mangrove so well that today, when visitors go to Pulau Semakau, they have no inclination that that plot of mangrove is regenerated, and they will think that it is natural. So that's why I said that pragmatism needs to be considered, but it could be mitigated with the support of scientific application. I think in the area of environmental conservation, Singapore has done well. Despite the fact that we are a very small island and with land scarce situation, we were able to really improve the environment through the establishment of vegetations even within an urban environment. And I would say that we owe this to the vision of our late Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, okay, who understood the importance of the quality of our environment for the people of Singapore. Because the quality of our environment affects the morale of the population. You know, if you live in a slummish conditions, you know, and where things don't work and things looks very in a bad state, the morale and the motivation of the population will be very much dampened. I think he gave a very simple example that when you visit certain slums, you find that the crime rates in this slummish area is always very high. But if you have a well-maintained environment, you know, filled with greenery, filled with healthy environment and air, and as an outcome, I think the residents enjoy such quality, and as an outcome, they are very much inspired and they will be very much, you know, uplifted in their morale. And when a population's morale is uplifted, all the other social issues would be lessened. I'm not saying eradicated, but lessened. So his answer, what you got to a question posed to him by an international reporter, that why are you spending so much money on planting trees and improving the environment, then even, you know, allocating it for social welfare. So his answer is that if I do not invest in spending, you know, the resources to build up a quality environment, I would spend more to solve social problems at a later stage. I think this is what I call far-sighted vision. And that is why today you can evolve a garden city to a city in a garden, primarily based on this count. So therefore, I would say Singapore has done great in the environmental improvement. Not just creating new vegetations or new plots of vegetations, but also at the same time conservation. You know, we have conservations of Chek Jawa, we have conservations of the natural forests in the catchment areas, and we have converted, you know, marshland into conservation areas and so on. So I think Singapore has done really well. Despite the fact that we're a small island, we continue to maintain a beautiful environment that is an envy of the people of the world. I cannot think of a particular area of this nature because I believe that the authorities in charge of this environment have very much dealt with in every detail and very comprehensively analyzed our situations and our constraints, and they have addressed them, I would say, quite comprehensively, the issues concerned. So if you ask me that question now, you know, offhand, I will not be able to give you an answer. Well, I would say this to the teachers. The students will look to them for facilitating views, for facilitating trends of thoughts, and for facilitating the formation of perspectives. Okay? While a teacher would focus very much on the mastery of his or her particular domain of subjects, I think if he or she can link these subject domains to issues of national interest, particularly within the context of Singapore. I think, and with this background and with this thinking, I think they will be able to open up the minds of our students to have a broader perspective of the country than just be viewing a perspective in a very narrow sense. Because this country is unique in the world. We are only 730 square kilometers. Unlike, we are even smaller than Greater London. Now, we have 5 million overpopulations to support. And not just supporting them from the survival point of view, but supporting them to have a good quality of life living in this small island. So it is a balancing act that is very hard to maintain. So therefore, it is within this context of our constraints and of our goals, we need to really look at issues with a broader perspective so that it is clearer to us. That's why I like the topic of kaleidoscope, because kaleidoscope, when you look at it from one angle, it provides you a very good perspective. But when you shake it, it gives you another perspective, a multiple perspective. I think life issues are like that. Life issues cannot be viewed just from a narrow angle and say, this is what it is. Life issues are interconnected with many other issues. And that's why we can have a better perspective, a better understanding of one issue if we look broadly, connecting it to other issues. Yes, when people talk about conservation, I qualify, I'm for conservation. But if there is a need to compromise somewhat, we have to think of other areas that can mitigate it while meeting the needs for development that compromises on the issues of conservation. So it is important for teachers, while teaching the domains of subjects that they are involved in, they ought to have also a broader perspective, linking that domain to other issues that are attached to it. Look at the national interests broadly so that they can facilitate the perspectives and the trends of thoughts among our students, so that our students will also be able to understand the national perspectives in a better way.